Mabuhay and welcome to our video presentation. Come join with us to learn and be educated as we discuss about tourism's impact on the environment. But first, let me introduce myself. I am Hanami Darlene Castillo, the leader of the group. Before we start, may I request to have your eyes and ears focus in our discussion. When we say impact, this can be positive or negative. Tourism impact may be defined as effect brought by directly or indirectly by tourism policies, tourism-related establishment and infrastructure, and tourist behavior.
What it is, ho, what's up? Every good girl needs a...
To begin, let's start with land degradation. So what is land degradation? So land degradation is a process or pollution that created by humans and nature. And also it is a baldness of land which can cause floods and other pollutions. So what are the positive and negative impacts of land degradation? So first, let's tackle about the positive impacts. So the positive impacts are responsible consumption and production, sustainable cities and communities, and lastly, increased infrastructure and utilities. So why are these can lead to this kind of positive impacts? Because as we know that land degradation doesn't have a nature, and also it's full of desertification, like it's all desert, so you can create a infrastructure or something that you can build a building to that. So next, let's tackle about the negative impacts of the land degradation. So negative impacts are, it can cause landslides and floods, it can increase pollution, and it can lead to desertation or desertification. So why is that? It is because that no trees in land degradation, it's already pulled out by humans and nature. So also, land degradation can also lead to poverty and hunger. So that's all for land degradation, and thank you.
So today, I'm going to tackle about waste depletion. So what is a waste depletion? Waste depletion refers to the exhaustion or reduction of natural resources at a rate faster than they can be replenished. This can include the depletion of non-renewable resources like fossil fuels, minerals, and groundwater, as well as the overuse of renewable resources beyond their sustainable capacity, such as overfishing or deforestation. It is a significant concern for environmental sustainability and can have long-term consequences for ecosystems and human societies. Now, I am going to discuss the positive and negative impacts of waste depletion. But first, let's start with the positive impact. Conservation of natural resources involves the responsible and sustainable use of Earth's assets to ensure their availability for current and future generations. This practice aims to prevent depletion, degradation, or exhaustion of resources such as water, air, soil, minerals, and biodiversity. Conservation strategies include promoting efficient resource utilization, reducing waste, adopting renewable energy resources, and preserving ecosystems. The goal is to strike a balance between human needs and environmental preservation, fostering long-term environmental stability and biodiversity. Next is the reduce environmental pollution. Reduced environmental pollution refers to a decrease in the presence of harmful substances in air, water, soil, and ecosystem. This positive change often results from sustainable practices, cleaner technologies, and heightened environmental awareness. Efforts to reduce pollution contribute to improve air quality, healthier ecosystems, and enhance overall well-being for both human and wildlife populations. Implementing eco-friendly policies, promoting renewable energy, and adopting waste reduction strategies are key components of achieving a more sustainable and eco-friendly future. Now, let's move move on to the negative impacts. Environmental degradation. Environmental degradation refers to the deterioration of the environment through depletion of natural resources, pollution, habitat destruction, and other harmful activities. It encompasses processes that compromise the Earth's ecosystems, biodiversity, and overall environmental quality. Human activities such as deforestation, industrial pollution, and overexploitation of resources contribute to the environmental degradation, leading to negative impacts on air and water quality, soil fertility, and the well-being of both ecosystems and human communities. Next is human health hazard. A human health hazard refers to any substance, activity, or condition that poses a threat to the well-being of individuals, potentially causing harm or adverse health effects. These hazards can arise from exposure to harmful chemicals, unsafe working conditions, infectious agents, or lifestyle factors. Identifying and mitigating health hazards is crucial to maintaining and promoting overall well-being. A prolonged exposure or neglecting this risk can lead to illness, injuries, or long-term health complications.
I'm going to discuss about pollution. Pollution is the presence or introduction into the environment of substances or activities that cause harm or discomfort to human beings, other living organisms, or the natural environment. It can occur in various forms, including air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, noise pollution, and light pollution. Pollution is caused by human activities such as industrialization, burning fossil fuels, deforestation, improper waste disposal, and agricultural practices. Pollution has both negative and positive impacts, although the negative impacts far outweigh the positive ones. So now I am going to discuss about the positive and negative impacts of tourism and pollution. Positive impacts of pollution. Number 1. Technological advancements. Pollution problems have inspired innovations in technology such as air and water purifiers, renewable energy sources, and pollution control devices. These advancements aim to mitigate the negative effects of pollution. Number 2, job opportunities. Pollution control and environmental cleanup efforts create job opportunities in sectors like environmental engineering, waste management, and renewable energy. This can contribute to economic growth and employment. Number 3, awareness and activism. As pollution becomes more prevalent and well known, more people become conscious of its impacts and engage in actions to reduce pollution levels. This leads to increased activism and advocacy for sustainable practices and environmental protection. So now let's talk about the negative impacts. Negative impacts of pollution. Number 1, environmental degradation. Pollution can cause serious damage to ecosystems, including air, water, and soil. It can lead to the loss of biodiversity, destruction of habitats, and contamination of natural resources. Number 2, health problems. Pollution, especially air pollution, is linked to various health issues, including respiratory diseases, cardiovascular problems, allergies, and even cancer. Water pollution can also lead to waterborne diseases when contaminated water is consumed. Number 3, climate change. Pollution, specifically the emission of greenhouse gases, contributes to the warming of the Earth's atmosphere, leading to climate change. This in turn causes disrupted weather patterns, rising sea levels, and increased intensity of natural disasters. Number 4, economic implications. Pollution can impose significant economic costs, such as the needs for healthcare services, environmental cleanup efforts, and loss of the productivity due to health issues and environmental damage. It can also negatively impact industries like tourism, agriculture, and fisheries.
We're going to discuss about the impacts of tourism on climate change. Climate change is a complex and multi-phase phenomenon that affects the Earth system in various ways. The tourism is one of the biggest contributors to climate change. The relationship between climate change and tourism is twofold. Climate change impacts on tourism, and tourism impacts on climate change. However, we're going to discuss today the positive and negative impacts of tourism on climate change. The positive impact of tourism is that it can raise awareness and support for conservation and environmental protection. It can also generate income and employment for local communities and help them adapt to climate change. On the other hand, the negative impact of tourism is that it can deplete and degrade natural resources such as water, land, energy, biodiversity, and etc. through overconsumption and pollution. It can also cause environmental problems such as deforestation, soil erosion, waste generation. Tourism alone is responsible for the 8% of the world's carbon emissions because of its high energy transport and activities. As more and more people travel each year, this footprint is only growing. Overall, the negative impacts are likely to outweigh the positive impacts, especially in the long term and for the most vulnerable destination and populations. Therefore, it is essential to take urgent and coordinated actions to transform tourism for climate actions and sustainable development.
And now, I am going to discuss about the positive and negative impacts of tourism on water. Let's start with the positive impacts. First, the conservation efforts. Tourism can raise awareness about the importance of water conservation. Through this, we can encourage tourists to appreciate the beauty of water bodies and become more conscious about preserving them. Second, the infrastructure development. Tourism can lead to development of water-related infrastructure such as water treatment plants, which can benefit both tourists and local communities. Third, the economic growth. Tourism generates revenue which can be invested in improving water management systems, water treatment facilities, and providing access to clean water for both tourists and locals. Next is the negative impacts. First, the water scarcity. Tourism constrains local water resources, leading to water scarcity in destinations with limited water supplies. Increased demand from hotels, resorts, and recreational activities can overburden local water sources. Second, pollution. Tourism activities like boating, swimming, and improper waste disposal can lead to water pollution, affecting the quality of water bodies and harming aquatic life. Third, the habitat destruction. The construction of tourism infrastructure such as hotels and restaurants near water bodies can disrupt natural habitats and ecosystems, impacting the overall health of water ecosystems. So, to mitigate these negative impacts, responsible tourism practices should be encouraged. This can include promoting water conservation measures, sustainable infrastructure development, and educating tourists about their impact on water resources.
Now, I will be discussing habitat fragmentation. This is frequently caused by humans when native plants are cleared for human activities such as agriculture, rural development, urbanization, and the creation of accommodation for tourism industry. The tourism impact on environment and habitat fragmentation has positive and negative impacts. Let's start with the positive impacts. We have here number 1, sustainable tourism practices. By adopting sustainable tourism practices such as responsible waste management, water conservation, and energy efficiency, tourism operation can minimize their environmental footprint and reduce negative impacts on habitats. Integrating sustainable design principle into infrastructure development can also help minimize habitat fragmentation, preserving natural corridors and minimizing disturbance to wildlife. Number 2, we have volunteerism. Habitat restoration of volunteerism programs can contribute to the conservation and restoration of fragmented habitats. Participants may engage in activities such as tree planting, invasive species removal, or habitat rehabilitation, helping to reconnect fragmented landscape and improve habitat quality. In which tourism participate in voluntary work and demand that airlines and government reinvest profits back into the habitat conservation, communities, and carbon mitigation. Research and monitoring. We have this number 3. Tourism activities can support scientific research and monitoring efforts focused on understanding and protecting habitats. Researchers can study the impacts of tourism on ecosystem, monitor wildlife population, and assess the effectiveness of conservation measures. This knowledge can inform conservation strategies and help mitigate habitat fragmentation. And next, we will move forward on the negative impacts. Considering all the positive impacts tourism can give for habitat fragmentation, it is still undeniable that it has negative impacts on the environment. It requires low-cost environment activities in order to achieve these positive impacts. Let's move on to the negative impacts, starting with number 1, infrastructure development. To accommodate tourists, destinations often require the development of infrastructures such as roads, hotels, resorts, and recreational facilities. The construction of these structures can lead to the clearance of natural habitats, resulting in the fragmentation of landscape and the loss of connectivity between habitats, being fragmented and replaced by agriculture, residential, recreational, commercial, and industrial land use. We have here number 2, wildlife disturbance and alter their behavior. Noise pollution from planes, cars, buses, leading to stress and irritation can cause distress to wildlife animals and their natural habitat. If facilities are built too close to sensitive habitats, this can disrupt the natural behavior of the animals that live there. These behavioral changes can further impact wildlife population and their ability to utilize fragmented habitats effectively. And lastly, we have number 3, tourist activity. While tourist activities promise benefits to local and national economies, but it can also damage the very ecosystem, environment, and cultural traditions that draw travelers in the first place. Tourism brings an influx of visitors to natural areas, leading to increased human activity and disturbance. Activities such as hiking, off-road vehicle use, and infrastructure development within or adjacent to habitats can disrupt wildlife movement, breeding pattern, and foraging behaviors, further contributing to habitat fragmentation.
Before we begin, what comes in your mind the word extinction? Extinction is the disappearance of a species of plant or animal from Earth. It is a natural phenomenon that has occurred throughout Earth's history. But the current rate of extinction is much higher than the natural rate due to human activities. So, what is the negative impact of tourism and animal extinction? The increasing popularity of tourism destinations that feature wildlife attractions, such as zoos, safaris, and natural parks, can have both positive and negative impacts of animal conservation. While tourism can generate revenue that can support conservation efforts and raise public awareness about wildlife conservation, it can also lead to habitat destruction, animal exploitation, and spread of diseases that threaten animal populations. According to the World Tourism Organizations, or UNWTO, international tourist arrivals reached 1.4 billion in 2019, demonstrating the global appeal of tourism experiences. Wildlife tourism is a significant sector within the tourism industry, generating billions of dollars in revenue each year. For instance, in 2019, wildlife tourism in South Africa contributed over $14 billion to the country's GDP. Despite the economic benefits of wildlife tourism, it can also pose threats to animal conservation. A study published in the journal Conservation Biology found that ecotourism activities such as wildlife viewing and trekking can cause stress and behavior changes in wild animals. The study impact of ecotourism in wildlife populations by researchers at the University of Cambridge and the Wildlife Conservation Society investigated the effects of ecotourism on animal behavior and population dynamics. The study focused on 3 case studies, namely mountain gorillas in Rwanda, chimpanzees in Uganda, and black bears in the United States. The researchers found that ecotourism activities can have both positive and negative impacts on the wildlife populations. For example, the presence of tourists can lead to increased vigilance behavior in animals, which can divert energy away from essential activities like foraging and breeding. However, the study also found that ecotourism can raise awareness about conservation issues and generate revenue can support conservation efforts. The increasing popularity of safari and wildlife tourism can have a detrimental impact on animal populations. While these activities can generate revenue for conservation efforts and raise public awareness about wildlife conservation, they can also lead to habitat destruction, direct exploitation, disease transmission, and increased poaching. To maximize the positive impacts of safari and wildlife tourism on animal conservation, it is crucial to promote responsible tourism practices, support sustainable tourism initiatives, and advocate for policies that protect wildlife and their habitats. The wildlife tourism, it can cause significant disturbances to animals and their natural habitats. This may frighten animals, specifically at sensitive times of their life cycle, and have an adverse effect on breeding. Feeding of wildlife by tourists can change social behavior patterns. Social activities can have a significant impact on animal extinction, particularly in areas where wildlife is a major tourist attraction. Additionally, tourism can distort wildlife through increased noise, population, and direct interaction, causing stress and disrupting their natural behaviors. Furthermore, tourism can contribute to the spread of diseases among animals, as tourists may unknowingly knowing pathogens that can affect wildlife populations. One of the most significant negative impact of animal extinction and tourism is the loss of unique and characteristic wildlife attractions. Tourist travel from all over the world to see iconic species such as elephants, rhinos, tigers, and gorillas. The disappearance of these species will not only deprive tourists of once-in-a-lifetime experiences, but also to lead to a decline in tourism revenue for many countries that rely on wildlife tourism as a major source of income. So, if there are negative impact of tourism in animal extinction, there is also the positive impact of tourism and animal extinction. That is, increase awareness and appreciation for wildlife, because the wildlife tourism exposes people to the wonders of the nature world, fostering a deeper understanding and appreciation for wildlife. This can lead to greater public support for conservation efforts and a shift towards more sustainable tourism practices. A study published in the journal Conservation Biology found that ecotourism in Kenya generated positive attitudes towards elephants among local communities, reducing poaching incidents and increasing support for elephant conservations. Research and monitoring opportunities. Tourism activities can provide valuable opportunities for research and monitoring of wildlife populations. This data is crucial for informing conservation strategies and assessing the effectiveness of conservation efforts. For instance, whale watching tours in the Pacific Ocean have provided valuable data on the abundance, distribution, and mitigation patterns of various whale species. In conclusion, tourism can be a powerful force for conservation when conducted in a responsible and sustainable manner. By generating revenue, raising awareness, creating jobs, supporting sustainable practices, and providing research opportunities, tourism can play a crucial role in preventing animal extinction and preserving biodiversity for future generations.
The positive impact on the coral reefs protects coastlines from storms and erosions. provide jobs for local communities, and offer opportunities for recreation. Around 80% of all tourism activity occurs within about 7% of the marine park. By facilitating the sharing of its cultural and environmental values to visitors from around the world, the behavior of tourists can have negative impact on both coral reefs and communities. Impact include damage to reefs and coral from boats, trampling and snorkeling, pollution and rubbish from human waste, wildlife disturbance where tourists aren't maintaining respectful distance, and increased pressure from recreational fishing. When tourists accidentally touch, pollute, or break off parts of the reef, corals experience stress. The top threats to coral reefs are global climate change, unsustainable fishing, and land-based pollution are all due to human activities. These threats, combined with others such as tropical storms, disease, outbreaks, vessel damage, and marine debris, and invasive species exacerbate each other.
So, what are the causes of beach encroachment? The growth of the tourism industry can result in beach encroachment due to the construction of hotels, resorts, and other tourist facilities near the beach. Inadequate conservation measures and sustainable management practices can lead to the degradation of beach ecosystems, reducing the overall quality and size of beach areas. Urban expansion and the development of coastal properties have increased human activities and accessibility to beaches. Additionally, climate change has contributed to beach erosion and flooding. So what are the positive effects of beach encroachment? Beach encroachment can lead to the tourism development through the construction of infrastructure like piers and coastal roads. Additionally, encroachment can create new employment opportunities in construction, infrastructure development, and coastal management. Changes in the coastal landscape due to the encroachment can also lead to the creation of new habitats for certain species, although the ecological impacts of this should be carefully considered to ensure sustainable coastal management practices. While there are many positive aspects to beach encroachment and crowding, there are also several negative effects that need to be considered. Beach encroachment, which involves building structures like hotels, restaurants, and apartments, negatively impacts the natural beauty of the beach. These can lead to reduced space for local wildlife, causing displacement or harm to species like seabirds and sea turtles that depend on the beach for their habitat. The decline or extinction of certain species can result. Beach encroachment also disrupts coastal processes such as formation of dunes, which are essential for maintaining beach health and protecting against coastal erosion. The loss of natural resources like beaches can significantly impact local economies that rely on tourism, agriculture, and other industries, resulting in reduced employment opportunities and lower income for the residents. And this is the positive impact of beach crowding. As the number of beach visitors increases, it leads to job creation in sectors such as food and beverage, transportation, accommodation, and retail. Additionally, some beach locations charge admission or parking fees, which generate income for beach maintenance and environmental conservation. Overcrowding may also result in revenue for maintaining and safeguarding the area's natural attractiveness. The gathering of people at the beach also promotes interaction, fostering social ties and strengthening the sense of community. The demand for improved infrastructure, such as parking facilities, restroom, and lifestyle amenities, can lead to investment in upgrading and maintaining these facilities.
contributing to the development of a more sustainable and resilient tourism industry in the long run. Let's also not forget the negative effects of beach crowding. As beaches become more crowded, can be decrease in beach aesthetics, potentially discouraging tourism and resulting in economic losses for local businesses. Overcrowding also increases the risk of coastal erosion and storm damage, requiring additional investment and coastal protection measures. Pollution, including litter and pollution of the water and sand, can negatively impact the environment and contribute to beach closures. Safety concerns, such as increased risk of accidents and drowning due to limited lifeguard capacity, also arise in crowded beach environments. In conclusion, the negative effects of beach crowding can significantly impact the overall beach experience for those who visit the beach. This can range from physical discomfort due to overcrowding to a reduction in the natural beauty of the beach.
Tourism has been a successful and described to be the world's largest industry. It offers a lot of benefits in terms of economic, social, educational, and environmental aspects, which generates economic growth, job offering, promotion and preservation of culture, language learning, and environmental conservation efforts. Although we recognize the great benefits of the tourism sector to the national economy, the tourism activities have also been connected to the negative impact on the economy, in particular to the environment, which is why it is important for us to practice sustainable tourism and be aware of our actions and decisions in the environment, because it does not only affect the green spaces but it also affects us. In conclusion, we are deeply hoping that through this discussion, you are able to understand and learn the importance of having a sustainable tourism. On behalf of the group, that will be all, and thank you for watching.